This is part 1 of my Mettaton cosplay. As of making this video, I have exactly 10 days left to finish him, and this is how I made his belt corset tummy thing. Taking reference from fan art and the only figure of him available, as well as inspiration from one of my own cosplays from a long time ago, I wanted to make him look as much of a robot as possible, so I strayed from what people usually interpret this part as. I was planning on wearing a corset underneath, so wearing that, I wrapped myself in saran wrap, tape, and then started to draw my design on, keeping in mind where I wanted the pink chest piece to go. Since it's mirrored, I only focused on one side. After gently cutting myself out, I drew the back design on and labeled all the parts and cut them out. I transferred all the pieces to poster board, making sure to add extra for later, because I actually plan to do all of this over a second time, making Napstab look, so me and one of my closest cosplay friends can do them together. It's actually been a plan for years, and because this is the 10th anniversary of Undertale, I decided to finally do it. I transferred all the pieces to 2mm foam, cut them out with a mini box cutter, and then started on the middle piece with the heart. I took foam dowels, cut them in half, and glued them onto the edges with contact cement. The heart that I found was one half of a Christmas ornament, so I traced around it in the middle and glued dowels I cut into quarters around the guide I made. I then started the really truly grueling task of gluing holographic spandex onto the foam with spray adhesive. I don't have anything showing me do this to the middle part because I actually remade it 3 times. Now for the other parts, the back pieces I had to glue together, so I did that, and then super glued googly eyes onto the ends to look like rivets. Earlier I had done a test to see if it would work, and I really enjoyed the results. Now to explain how I glued the fabric on. On these pieces, it was much easier since they were almost completely flat. I traced around each piece on the back of the fabric, cut it out, and then sprayed a good amount onto the back and set it aside so I can wait for it to get tacky, and then did the same with the foam pieces. You have to have good ventilation when doing this. I have huge windows in this room that were open the whole time. Once I waited the minute for the glue to get tacky, I started to press the foam onto the fabric. Flipping it over, I used wax paper to help my cutting mat not get sticky, and used the end of a rat tail comb to press against the edges, and went back and forth smoothing out the fabric and going around the googly eyes and edges to make sure everything was stuck down. I cut the pieces out individually, trimmed the extra fabric, and then sprayed the back so I could stick the extra fabric down. I did this to all of them and then trimmed the corners where the fabric was folded on itself. To glue them together, I marked where the extra part started, think of this like seam allowance, and then started to put the glue on. I took the piece that was going to go on top, added the glue to the underside, waited for both to get tacky, and then pressed them together using the lines I had made as a guide for where they were supposed to overlap. When I had taped myself, I had the second half of the pattern that I actually used to make the base all the metal scales were going to be glued onto, so I had glued all of those pieces with contact cement and added a jacket zipper so I could get into it easier. I lined the middle of the back metal scales to the middle of the base and literally just hot glued it together. But to make sure I was going to glue it right and it wouldn't fit weird, I glued the rest while wearing it. I did have to sacrifice this shirt because I did get quite a bit of hot glue on it. You can see how I glued it on best here. I put some down onto the base, then held it down while it cooled. I also hot glued one side of the middle part and added Velcro onto the other side. For the heart, I painted it with transparent model spray paint. Heated up LED foam so it would hug the inside, used spray glue to connect them together, and then started on the LED lights. I got these itty bitty pink ones and started by taking 2 at a time and twisting them together to shorten the length and make it brighter. I then hot glued them onto the inside in 10 mostly even spots, folding in the extra wire. I did add a second string to maximize the brightness, so each spot ends up having 4 tiny LED lights. I cut a slit into the middle part to feed the battery packs in, hot glued tin foil onto the back so it would reflect the light back, and then hot glued the heart to the inside of the frame I had made. So I could easily replace the batteries later, I just taped them down inside. And here it is! The top is a little unsightly, but it will be completely covered by the chest piece, which will be in part 2.